bubble and the liquid would be present. And they will normally, the bubble or the air there, they will go in the central line. And this sort of thing is called annular flow. Similarly, we may have a gas solid there. So gas solid, you can say this is your gas liquid. Gas solid, you may have a pneumatic conveyor. This is also used in blast furnace and etc. where you have it. So suppose we have got a thing we need to feed into a furnace. So often it is some sort of air dust, you say, what we can, lime dust or like this there. And this one, basically, you want to transport it from one point to another point and feed it in furnace like this there. So this is called a pneumatic conveying. Just by air, you blow it and then inject it inside the bulb. So it is basically a gas solid air there. Similarly, we have a liquid solid also. Another thing is liquid. It is petroleum. Pipeline. So suppose we extract petroleum products there. What will happen is that whenever, in fact, if we go for if you think of the well, it would be a mixture of three elements there. It would be water, it would be kerosene or petroleum product, as well as its gas. But say suppose gas is not there, so this liquid will come out from this one, a petroleum well or like this there, where both water and kerosene are there. They have got a different density, and we need to know often what is the difference between them. What is the proportional ratio between them? Or in short, what percentage of the two different materials they do exist in the pipeline there. Obviously, the pipeline is closed. You cannot have a idea from outside, but often for the gas liquid flow, we require to know what is called void fraction. That means we say it is the area of void divided by total cross-section area. That means if there is a pipeline there, and even so basically outside it is fire or something there, so we have a tube going through this one. There are in fact number of tubes there. So we need to know that what is the amount of void there, and that is called the void fraction. The area of the void, that means for gas liquid flow, divided by the total cross-sectional area there. This is often required to know and estimate also the void fraction, because if you recall, those who have done and recall the memory, we have it, we have studied basic of, say, suppose, flow meter. If we look for the flow meter, you know the Q is equal to, I would not, some constant into root over 2 by rho into P1 minus P2, the relationship. That means we have a obstruction type flow meter. At this point, you would know what is the pressure, and at this point, what is the pressure P1 and P2, and this is your flow direction there. And this is an obstruction. Obstructions means either orifice or venturi or like this. So to find out the Q is the volumetric flow rate, this is some constant there which includes some discharge coefficient and all other things there. And P1 and P2 if you measure and square root it, you can calculate what is the value of Q there. But the question is that there is a rho factor, and rho is what is a density there. Okay, if the liquid is, the flow is single phase flow, that means only liquid is there, I know what is the density is there, average density is there. But if it is a two-phase flow where the liquid is here and the void or bubble is there, then what will happen is that what will be the value of rho? It is rather undecided. You will have to, this all depends upon what is the amount of area the bubble is occupying and what is the area the liquid is flowing. So naturally, we need to find out a void fraction, and accordingly we'll have to put some correction factor if there is a void there. So often for measuring the flow rate, we require to know void fraction, and also this void creates the change in the heat transfer coefficient. And that may cause as a, I am just doing it in this case is for heating up, for cooling also, as I have discussed last day about the 3 Miles Island incident there. There could be, while cooling, the outside temperature is large, you are using the liquid to cool it. And if there is some bubble there, that will change the heat transfer coefficient, and that may increase the tube A there, very large, the tube temperature very high and causing some leakage there. So naturally, this is one case we need to know what is the void fraction. So this flow is called an annular flow. Similarly, we may have another type of flow that is stratified flow. Which is like this, it's a two-phase flow, but say it is horizontal. Horizontal pipeline, the liquid is not full, it is half filled or at some time. So basically, we want to know what is the height of this one there. But this horizontal pipeline, which may be a sewage line or maybe some other A there, which is underground, how would you find out what is the value of the height of this one? So two simple problems I am telling it, which requires A there, this modeling is required, is that one is an annular flow where what is the bubble? We want to find out the void fraction, what is the area of the bubble. Similarly, in the stratified flow, when it is a liquid flowing horizontally, what is the area of the or the height of the tube. In both the cases, what we can have is basically measurement for the resistance and capacitance calculation there. For the sake of simplicity, what I do is that this may be a non-metallic tube. But here you inside on the wall itself inside, these are we put two electrodes. So between these two electrodes, the water is flowing on like this there. And you measure, say suppose example, either resistance or the capacitance also. I am just considering for the resistance itself. So what will happen depending upon the size of the bubble and obviously its location, this resistance and capacitance will change. Similarly, depending upon the height of the liquid we want to measure underground from outside, I want to measure that these two values of the resistance between them, we will be able to, it will vary, we understand it will vary with the height of it. So basically, if we want to do it like this there, and if you measure the resistance, you can get a one-to-one relationship between H and R, knowing all other parameters. Similarly, you may get some sort of one-to-one relationship with, say, suppose theta and what is the diameter of the bubble and with R there, keeping all the things there. So the thing is that what we require, first of all, is we need to model it. What is the relationship? As I told, the resistance or capacitance calculation depend upon the radius of the void or the height of the area. Just two simple examples I am showing it like this. So we will be basically measuring the resistance or even the capacitance if the liquid is dielectric. So you can put it there, and we want to have the model. We want to develop a model or do the simulations there or solutions of there, and then how do you do it and try to measure that, okay, with this H, what is the value of R, or with this R, small r, what is the value of the total resistance. Am I clear? Any questions? Any questions?
For the stratified flow, it might happen that because of the pressure,
Pardon?
the air bubbles goes. It might happen that in the air that you've shown on the left hand side for the stratified flow, because of jerkiness or the high pressure, you might have inherent bubbles or it might not just steadily
That
go
will
like this,
have,
right?
and this is not so simple there, like this there. Actually, if we look at it, the bubbles, if we just in a tube there, say suppose we first put them there, the water, this is your liquid, and this is your void there. It could be, there are several positions there. It could be in this way that this is the liquid there, but there are certain void there. That means it forms, it is in terms of void or like this, some distinct bubbles, or maybe if the bubble is too much or like this will be these voids and this thing will get linked up and overall it will be going like this. So there are many stages. I agree with you that there are many stages of this two-phase flow, annular flow, and what Taylor bubble, and so many other types of things there. So definitely it is not there. It may vary, but basically in all the cases, some average of the void can be estimated, because that is important, and even a rough estimation will also give you some idea, because we don't have any other way to look from to get it from outside there. Okay. So the point is that what I can do is that I put this annular, so I take the simplest case, and basically that may not occur actually, that, okay, so suppose I simulate these things here, and we have a have the case like this, a two-dimensional case, which is very symmetric. We can go for it more complex, but you can do the things here. So I can say that this angle is say theta, this radius here r, and I supply it, say suppose a voltage V1 here and a minus V1 there. That's to, basically that is to apply some voltage there. Okay. So these are all liquid. So what we require to find out what is the resistance between it. And we know the resistance to do the resistance of way, to find out the resistance between them and like this there, what we require is to find out this is the, if I apply some voltage at these boundaries, we need to first solve the Laplace equation, and this Laplace equation will give you the potential at each and every point of this one. And if we know the potential, we can find out what is the electric field at the boundary, and from that one I can find out what is the current, and from that one the potential by the current I can get a average resistance. Obviously, we'll have to put it here there. So the questions are to be the boundary conditions. Okay, this is capital R, I say this is small r1. This is the bubble there. So the boundary conditions will we need to find out what are the boundary conditions there. Okay. I am just, because in this case it will be the Laplace equation should be in terms of r comma phi. We need to find out not in xy coordinate but in polar coordinate there. So I need to find out, okay, this is the situation I wanted to find out what is the boundary, what are the boundary conditions for all the things. As I know the basic things are there, the solution of Laplace equation is unique if the boundaries, the potential or its gradient in the normal directions are defined on all points on the boundary. So naturally we say these points are, potentials are defined, but we'll have to look into it and also we need to define it there. So what we can do is that, first of all, I take a one so I take the problem region, I define it. Is 1/4. Basically, that is our A there, because it is highly symmetric. I have taken both of them concentric. All the things, the bubble is inside and concentric. So all the things there. So for that one, I can take some sort of 1/4 only. Okay. So that means I just take this cross section. Okay. What I will look is that this is filled up with water. And also, this is your electrode, okay? And this angle is basically theta. Okay. So,
Sir, that angle is theta by 2.
boundary conditions. What are the boundary conditions? I just put the names. Here it is, say, A, B, then it is C, D, E, and like this. So the boundary conditions we will have like this.
Sir,
Yes?
sir, the angle of E, O, and C is theta by 2 because the whole electrode is
Yeah,
theta.
thank you. Thank you, definitely. So first of all, we say, what is the potential VAB? I can say, what is the potential VAB? What is the potential between VAB? Is equal to 0 by symmetry. Because it is plus V1, I have given it, minus V1, I have given it. At the half position from symmetry, I can make VAB equal to 0 there. Okay. Next is that next is the region that is basically BC, region BC. Region BC, first of all, what we say that the current definitely will be flowing through this one. The currents will be flowing through these directions like this there. So will be contained, and because of the symmetry, it will be going like this there. So, no, sorry, I cannot put it in this way. I will put it in this way that, first of all, there is no current outside. There is no current. All the currents are contained in this one. So if the current is not outside, that means the electric field is also not there. And electric field is not there means which is these are the basically what I draw is that it is the equipotential lines. So basically what we will find is the electric field along this one will be 0 there. So that it does not go, because if we recall, the E is equal to J into sigma into J. That means the current, there is no current outside. All the things are contained inside. So naturally J is here. So basically E will be equal to 0 there. So what I get is that del V del N, because it is symmetric, at the region, what is it, BC, is equal to 0. Or we can say, for this one, it is minus theta, sorry, it is from this one, it is pi by 2. Okay, it is, this is that theta by 2. Theta by 2 is suppose this pi, and this is equal to pi. I put it like this there, that in this direction, del V del N equal to 0. During the point, it is that become theta by 2 to angle pi by 2. So it will be always be 0 there. Then we say it is CD. CD is that along this one, V is equal to class of V1. Okay. Then what will happen to D? Can you suggest? Can you suggest? What will happen to D? The thing is that in this case also, you have just taken a half of it like this there, and it is symmetric. If it is symmetric, then definitely electric fields will be like this. This will be parallel. They are symmetric in this way, like this, because of the symmetricity on the bottom. So if it is electric field is like this there, we say that del V del N equal to 0 there. So we get it like this there. The field lines. So del V del N means what I would say is that for that range D, I defined it del V del phi equal to 0 because field lines are parallel. Because of the symmetry. If it is D is being done, del V del N equal to there, then what is the last part? It is in the range of EA. What would be the equation? What is the boundary condition? The boundary condition would be the similar because outside is insulated and this side, the void is also an insulator there. So it is not insulating surface there. For this one, what we require is that similarly, del V del N equal to 0. Or I just put it in this way, instead of del V del N, I can put it as del V del R equal to 0. Because normal direction, as we change R, whether there is any change in potential there. So here also, the del V del R equal to 0. That is because of a non-conducting surface. So what we can say is that for these cases, we can define the boundary conditions of 1/4 of a segment, and since we can define it 1/4 of a segment, all the things and it is symmetrical, so we can cut down the problem region and simplify the dimension problem. But what we can say is that in this region, all the points on the boundary, we have either V is defined or its del V del N is defined. So if it is there, so what we can find out is that you can have an unique solution of the Laplace equation. In this case, it is in terms of V into R and in terms of V of R and F, phi. So you can have a unique solution of the Laplace equation, and we can find out the potential at all these points there. And from there, you can find out what is the resistance. And the total current we can find out over this surface, we can say that one. And we can do some integration and do that thing there. Obviously, this is a two-dimensional problem. We have neglected fringing. So with the two dimension, there would be always some fringing there. But what I wanted is that similarly, in this case also, we can define and the problems, boundary conditions uniquely. So, all the points there, and we can have an unique solution of that. So, now the question is that how to solve Laplace equation. How to solve the Laplace. So, first of all, you will have to solve the Laplace equation, and second thing, and also apply boundary conditions. And if we can have the appropriate boundary conditions, you will be able to answer, or find out the resistance and all the things there. So, these are the implications of the boundary conditions which we wanted to say. Now we will go for the problem, how to solve the Laplace equation, the solution of Laplace equation. Is it okay up to this? Any question? Any question?
Sir? Sir, here we are using symmetry. So if we deal the exactly opposite quadrant, all these voltages will be the negative of the what we got here. Is it like that, sir? Because here we have minus V1 as our voltage.
Yeah. But what I can say is that what I am trying to find out, we are trying to find out what is the value of current flowing through this one. If we apply some voltage, what is our ultimate intention is that find out E on the boundaries, then find out J on the boundaries. J is the current density. And then integrate the J to get the current here. Okay? So our objective is to get the value of current here. So basically you integrate this one, or in this case therefore at each point what is the value of J, and you can get it, the current there. Now if the current is, this one is I, what will be the total current? The surface has been doubled.
So 2I.
Is 2I. So what will be there? It is 2V1 divided by 2I. So it will get the cancel there. Okay? Got my point?
Yes, sir.
So that is what, as I am trying to simplify it as much as possible, but actual case, it will not be there. Then we will have to go for numerical techniques and etc.
Sir, E is equal to J by sigma, no?
Pardon?
So you have written on the right side.
Very loudly, I cannot hear.
Sir, you have written E is equal to sigma J.
I think sorry, it should be
J by sigma.
J is equal to sigma E. Sorry, thank you. Yeah. Okay? Is it correct?
Yes, sir.
Sorry, thank you very much for pointing it. So now the solution of Laplace equation. As we have told that one is analytical, another is numerical, which is basically use a more complex problem, 3D problem, and where you need to numerical one. But I think the analytical one is also simple, and that's why I'll start from that part there. So what we have is del 2v del x square plus del 2v del y square is equal to 0. So what of course, here it is two-dimensional problem. 3-dimensional will be more complex here. What we can assume, so what I need to do is that what is the Vxy is equal to what? We need to find out. So we say that let Vxy is equal to capital X, which is a function of X, and capital Y, which is a function of Y there. Okay. So X, small y are the coordinates, capital X and capital Y are functions of small x and small y there. So what we can say is that from this equation, if we just put the values there, so what we get is that yy del 2x small x del x square plus of x del 2 y of y del y square equal to 0 there.
Sir,
Huh?
how did we take this assumption that this is separable like this? It might not be in explicit form, right?
Just you see, so we are assuming. The question is that if it is, so the question is that if we are assuming, so what should be the condition? What should be the conditions? Our question is that is a solution. So if it satisfies this one, then it should be a solution. Okay. So to satisfy this one equation, I will have to say that this equation has to be valid there. Okay. So I am saying is that I assume that this is your solution there, and if we can prove that, okay, from this one also it satisfies this equation, then it would be also done. But we need to see that what is the condition for which there. It's a very general solution. What we wanted to say that it is whether basically it is a A there, del to V del x square del to Y, V del to Y. But if it was a Vx, Vy term there, then it could have been difficult. From this symmetry, what we thought that, okay, we can do the things there. So to satisfy Laplace equation, definitely this thing has to be satisfied there. Or we can say, I just divide everything by x into y, 1 by capital X, x into del 2xx del 2 small x square plus of 1 by yy del 2 capital YY divided by del y square equal to 0. Okay. So the point is that we need to satisfy this one. But at the same time, what we can say is that each of the item is dependent on a single variable only. So somehow you can look for the solution of this one and the solution of this one. This is called, what we call it, separation of variable. So what we are doing is that it is by separation of variable. So what we can say is that, so can be separated only. So in this case, what we can assume that del to capital X, x del x square into 1 by xx. This is equal to k1 square and then del yy, because this solution will be only a constant here, del y y by del y square is equal to k2 square. So from there we need to see that satisfy that therefore k1 square plus k2 square is equal to 0 there. Or we can say simply k1 is equal to minus k2 is equal to say minus k. I just simply drop the suffix there. Okay. So we have two equations. One is del 2v
K1, K2 are complex, right?
just 1 minute, let me write, is equal to minus k1. Sorry,
Sir, I
k.
guess in the definition it is just
Just 1
K1.
minute, let me see, write it down. Into x. And second thing is that del 2v del y square is equal to, that is also there, it would be minus k2. So k2 square, okay, this we can make it k square into y. Please tell me. What was the question?
Sir, it was K1 square equal to minus K2 square equal to minus K square in the last step.
Okay.
Yes. Sir.
Okay. That's also, it's no problem. Thank you. And k is greater than 0. Obviously, k square is always greater than 0 there. So what will have a general solution? What will be a general solution? What will be the general solution? What we have is that, not V, I think it should be capital X. This is capital Y, sorry.
Sir,
Sir, and also that is equal to minus K square into capital X.
K square?
Into capital X.
Thank you.
sir,
Yes?
since you've taken K1 square plus K2 square, and we say K is real, right?
K
So
definitely.
then they must individually be equal to 0. So then they must individually be equal to 0, right? K1 square plus K2 square is equal to 0 only and only when K1, K2 both are 0. So which means we are solving whenever both of these equations are simultaneously 0.
You are telling that, so K1 square is equal to minus K2 square. Do you have any objection to writing it? K, I am putting
Yes, sir. If K2 square is positive, then K1 square becomes negative, right?
So basically, one of them will be positive, one of them will be negative. That's the thing here. Because what we have solved is that one is x.
Sir, but if they're real, then a square is always positive, no? That is what I'm saying, that it cannot be negative.
Which one?
K1 square plus K2 square equal to 0. The only solution if K1 and K2 are real quantities is K1 equal to K2 equal to 0. There is no other solution. Unless and until K1, K2 are complex.
Your objection is that K1 and K2 could be? You are correct. Thank you.
Would mean sir has to be 0.
Yeah.
Sir, instead if you just define it as K1 and K2, like 1 by x dou square x by dou x square equal to K1, then no issue will come, sir. Then K1 will be equal to minus K square.
Okay. I will first write it down, these solutions, then what will be, we'll see it like this. So what is your excess? What is your solution? What do you think? It is basically del 2v del 2x del t square or d2x dt square, I can say it, plus of k square x equal to 0. What is the solution? What is the solution?
So it
The
is
solution is
sine kx
this
plus
is a1
s.
sine of k into x plus a2 into sine of k into y. And in this case, d2 basically it is equivalent to d2y dt square minus of k square y is equal to 0. What will be the solution? The solution would be a3 sine hyperbolic mod of k into y plus of a4 cosine hyperbolic mod of k into. Okay.
Sir, in x of x, it is a2 cos kx.
Oh, sorry. A2 cos x. Thank you. So this is the solution. Here it is e to the power. So this is the solution, and this one is the basically e to the power x, and here a. So what we have is that final solution is v of xy is equal to a1 sine of kx plus a2 cosine of kx into a3 sine hyperbolic of mod of k y into plus of a4 sine hyperbolic, cosine hyperbolic mod of ky. So this is the solution, and we need to find out the solution by putting several boundary conditions there. Several boundary conditions. I am not going into the details, but I will give you some problems. Where it is solved, IDA or say Heights books. These books, if you refer, you will find these analytical solutions are given, and also the there. If you put some real life problem, putting the boundary conditions, what are the solutions, you can find out there. So one example of this one is that I am not doing it. I leave it to you. You please solve it and find out and be satisfied that if it is like this there, a boundary region is like this. It is basically, this plate is infinitely long. And this one is V is equal to V0. This point V equal to 0, V is equal to 0. Okay. So the solution in this case, the potential, you will get a V of x comma y is equal to, by putting all the boundary conditions on like this there, and if y is in the infinite, so naturally this part will also be 0 there. Okay. So it would be Vxy is equal to 4 V0 by pi into sigma m is equal to 1 into infinity 1 by m sine of m pi by a into x into e to the power minus m pi by a into y. What is a? Just let me check. Oh, this distance is a. Okay. So naturally, it is possible, but not very elegant. Okay, you can do it. In fact, if we look at it, the Fourier series came up from this while solving the heat flow condition solution of this Laplace equation. They tried to do it. But it is not, but there for earlier mathematicians, they tried to get some sort of analytical one. But for more complicated cases, we'll have to go for the numerical one. So after a break, we'll take up the numerical one problem there. Is there any question, anybody? Or and another thing is also, could you try to solve the problem given to assignment given to you? Yes, last day. Please try it. If you can do it, you'll really enjoy. But whatever you see, we'll give you the solution afterwards, don't worry. But please try it, and then we'll go for it. Okay? In that case, let us break for 5 minutes, and then we'll
Sir.
come back with the EA techniques there, numerical solution techniques there. These things, I think, possibly in Ida's book is there. This solution, whatever. And in that book also, there are several other work problems given there. Okay. So we'll stop for 5 minutes. And then Okay, I guess all of you have come back. We'll start now, but possibly let me take a roll call, just only for knowing the names and etc. That will help you. Because I have not done it, because several people have joined afterwards. But today onwards, I will be doing the thing there. 20th, I think. Pritam Rao,
Yes, sir.
Navneet Bharat Naik,
Yes, sir.
Pritam Rao, Ayush Anil Gupta,
Yes, sir.
uh, Godu Lakshmi,
Present, sir.
Vishwa Vikas, Jayana Vishwa Vikas, Yogadenu Kallan Raman,
Present, sir.
Jaideep Singh, Matala Kartik, Mayank, which is basically first one will go for finite difference method. Often it is called FDM. One is FEM and one is FDM. FDM is very simple. In fact, comes out from the basic differential equations there. It's a numerical method there. What is that? If you recall the finite difference, for single variable, fx. So what we can express it in this form, if we want to do it numerically, like this, there, forward difference. That is, f dashed xi can be expressed at, if obviously it is approximation, f of xi plus delta x minus f of xi divided by delta x. Another is the backward difference. Where f dash xi can be expressed as approximately f of xi minus f of xi minus delta x divided by delta x. Okay. So in that case, what we can tell that, okay, I will find out that double derivative f double dashed xi, and which is nothing but f dashed x plus delta x minus xi divided by delta x. So, what we can say, for finding out this xi of xi plus double x, I will use the forward difference. In another case, I will use the backward difference. So, if I do the things there, then what will be? In this place, I place this thing, this value there. So, here it is like this there, it is f of xi plus delta x, then it is minus f of xi then it is minus of f of xi minus of it will be plus of f of xi minus delta x divided by, so it would be delta x whole square. Okay. So what we can write it down, the discretization, I can write it down that this d2 fi dx square is approximately equal to f of I plus 1 minus 2 fi plus of f of I minus 1 divided by h square. I just say it is a small interval like this. This is your, for a function of this thing here, if we want to discretize it. Now what we can say is that if it was in one dimension like this here, so if it is in 2 dimensions, that means I say this is your J and this is your I. So this point is I comma J and here it is I comma J plus 1. This one is I minus 1 comma J and here this is I plus 1 comma J and this point is I comma what is it? J minus 1. Is it? Or should I write it another way? I that is the thing. So what we can have it is this way, that this del fi like this, or if we extend it, what we can also write d basically, okay, instead of d, it will be dou like this, del 2 fi by del y square, it is approximately, I can say it is f of j plus 1 minus 2 fj plus of f of j minus 1, it is divided by h square. So for 2D Laplace equation, where it is basically, this should be basically J, Fj there. So what we have is that del 2 f of xy del x square plus of del 2 f of xy del y square equal to 0. I can write it down in this way. That is approximately is the sum of this one. So I write it in this way. That is equal to approximately equal to f of I minus 1 comma j minus 2 f I comma j plus of f of I plus 1 comma j divided by, I say it simply h square, where h is equal to, this is the distance h. Also, this grid distance h. Plus of f of I comma j minus 1 minus of 2 of f I comma j plus of f of I comma j plus 1 divided by h square equal to 0. Okay. So finally what we write it down is that this one can be approximately said that Laplace equation approximately, if we discretize it, we say if I minus 1 comma j, then it is plus of if I plus 1 comma j plus of f of I comma j minus 1 plus of f of I comma j plus 1 minus of 4 of f I comma j is equal to 0. Okay? Because 2Fij and 2Fij, this comes up like this. So basically, f of I comma j is equal to f of I minus 1 comma j plus of f of I comma I plus 1 comma j plus of f of I comma j plus 1 plus of f of I comma j minus 1 equal to, what is it? Divided by 4. So if I know basically the potential or the function value of that function in a grid like this, this is your I comma j. If I want to know these things, I comma j there, then what we will do is that I need to find out the potential or whatever be the value you wanted to know these functions on the left of the grids, on the left, on the right, on the top, and on the just below that one. If we know the potentials, all of them, simply this is your template. Then you can find out what will be our area. You can find out what will be our, rather approximated, what will be our potential at the midpoint. That is what, if it satisfies that Laplace equation, that is what we say it like this there. Okay. So I would be leave it to you for solving this one. So some of the potentials may be known, some of the potentials may be unknown. So we can find out similar type of equations for each of the every point there, and from there I can write it down. So suppose you see assignment, I can say. This is, say it is 1 meter. This is also 1 meter. This point, say V equal to 0. This point is also, this line is equal to 0 volt. This line V is equal to 0 volt. But this point V is equal to 10 volt. So what I want is that I just divide it into, so it's up 1, 2, 3, 4. Like this. So you just find out for the 2D geometry of a capacitance, discretize the domain, as shown, and write down the formulation for evaluating the voltages at each node using finite difference method. So you can see that this voltage is 0, this voltage is V, 10 volt. And similarly, all the points, for each points I can get this sort of equations there. And now those voltages which are known, I can take it out as a known values there, and so formulate basically a set of linear equations, algebraic equations there, from which the unknown values can be found out. So we'll have to do it in this way, but I think this is a simpler way. You can also try to formulate that, okay, what are the known values and what are unknown values. So suppose here it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 16 number of nodes are there. You need to find out what are the things there. Okay. So this is one problem, we just do it, but another, just simple before I conclude. That is an interesting one, that iterative solution. Because in the classroom I cannot show all the things there, I just simply say that using the iterative solution, what they are there. So basically, if we look at it, you have the A there, the template is something like this. Here you can say it is something like this for the weightage. All of them have got that weightage there. Their midpoint is 4, and here all sides are 1 and 1 and like this. In this way, you can just write an algorithm and do that things there. I say that one example there using iterative method. So that's different color. Okay. So what we wanted to say in this case, it is simpler than the last one. Here I took it like this, 3 sides are V and this side is say 100 volt there. So the point is that if I say this point, I have just discretized it. This point is, so it is first iteration, what we can say. So potential at point A, what is the potential at point A? What we will say? I just can consider the largest, take that largest square. What are the values here? This is 1 point, this is 1 point, this is 1 point, and this is 1 point. So what is the value of VA? 100 on the top, plus 0, plus 0, plus 0, divided by 4. You know, that is the thing there. This is a 4 here. This, if we want to divide it, it would basically find it, it would be add them up and divide it by 4. So it is basically 25 volt. Okay.
Sir, won't we take the nearest neighbor adjacent ones?
Pardon?
Which points voltage are we finding out right now? The middle point, right?
Suppose it's very crudely I am doing it. Crudely I am doing it means that the whole square, the outer square only, I am just taking it. Okay. So for the outer square,
The point comes out to be the
100 volt, this is 0 volt, this is 0 volt, this is 0 volt. I add them up and just divide it by 4. Okay. Got my point?
okay. And this is the node voltage for the center point, right?
This is
We
the center
assuming.
point A. Huh. Now say I take a point of B there. So it is just an approximation because it has to go for iteration to iteration. So here we don't have the potential at this point, this point, this point, this point, but we may have some sort of diagonal potentials are also there. So V of B by taking diagonal average, because I know that this will be, it is very approximation. So what I say is that VB, it is not at all given in your equations and like this there, but I say that okay, if the corner, if I say this one, I take the corner points instead of, because these points are not there, and try to find out there. So what will be your VB? This will be 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus of what is VA? That is equal to 25 volt. Divided by 4, it is actually 6.25 volt. Okay. And obviously, this point, so it is 6.25. This point, say, suppose it is B dashed, is also 6.2 volt. Because you know of symmetry, and these are all the same potentials are there. Okay. So say I call it, this is your C point. What will be your, by taking the diagonal average? What will be the VC? It would be, problem is that we have this point is 0 volt, this point is 100 volt. So assume, in this case what we will do is that the potential at the corner is equal to average of 0 and 100, it is 50 volt. I am just assuming, because there is a small gap here and there is a big potential difference. So I say this point is 50 volt. Next is that this point is 100 volt. Then next point is A point. A point is 25 volt. And this one is your 0 volt here. Divided by 4. This comes to be is equal to 43.75 volt. Okay. So this is your 43, and also VC dashed is also 43.75 volt. Okay. Now, what we can do is that if it is all the points we have taken it, then definitely I can find out what are the other potential. Because this potential I can find out, this potential I can find out, and this potential I can find out. Other points can be found. So what you can say, it is A, B, C, it is D, then it is E, it is F, and it is G. So potentials at other potentials at D, E, F, and G can be obtained. So I am not showing it now. Now I say it is the second iteration. Okay. So second iteration means we see what we have done wrong is basically calculating this one and calculating this one, because we have taken assumptions that by taking it by diagonally there. Okay. So what we can do is that I will just put the values there, then it would be easier for me there. So first iteration, iteration 1, I will put the value, it is 43.75. And this value you can find out as 53.12. Then this one is 43.75. Then this point is 18.75. Then this A is, we know, this is 25. And this is also 18.75. And this point, we said that it is 6.25. And here it is 6.25. And this point will be 9.37 volt. Okay. So what is the second iteration? Second iteration, I would try to make it in this way. Okay. So what I can say, it is 0 volt, this is 0 volt, this is 0 volt. Okay. So this will be obviously what we can do, that this point, I know now these values there. Instead of taking the diagonal one. So the refinement where Vc, so suppose in the second iteration I say it is Vc2. So in the second iteration I call it, this point is Vc2. What is it now? It is now 100 volt plus 0 volt. This is 100 volt, this is 0 volt, and this is 18.75 volt. And what is this volt? This is 53.12 volt. Divided by 4. By this one, you can see the Vc I calculated in a different way, taking the diagonal one. But here it is the only in x and y coordinate. These things will be changed to 43.0 volt there. So naturally, now it is 43.0 volt, and taking all the things there, you can finally, if iteration 2, it will be, that is 43.0 volt, it will all change because of this one. Similarly, this point, it was 6.75 volt, but it will come to 7.0 volt. It will come to 7.0 volt. So in this way, what we will get is that they will be altered, but this will be remaining the same, 25 volt. Here it is 18.6 volt. It was earlier 18.75. Here it is 52.8 volt. And here obviously it is 43.0, all replica. This is 18.6. This is 7.0. And this point is 9.7 volt. So you can see everything, it was 9.37, it becomes 9.7. It was 6.25, it has come to the second iteration closer to this one. And if we go for one further iteration in the same way, you can do that same way, that further value of this one, you take it. Final result, actually, it will converge at some point, and the final result will be
But this relief depends on the initial starting point, right? Like the middle point that you took as 25 volts, because that remains untouched throughout.
Yes?
The first point that we had assumed the voltage, that remains untouched throughout the iterations, right?
Point. This point. If we take this one,
Yes.
add this one, it will also become 25. That's why it did not change.
No, what I'm saying is that means this is okay. So if we start from a different voltage over there, instead of just taking the average of the three like that, then you would get to a different solution, right? Or would it converge still back to this point itself?
Converging means subsequent change in increment in each iteration of node voltages will be zero. I mean, the difference between will be the same.
Yeah, I get that. What I'm saying is that if I change this middle voltage,
they say that because you are very close to that approximation of the finite difference approximation. And normally, I have not seen, of course, cannot give you the convergence proof, but I have not seen that anything, it goes away of it and diverging that one. Let me finally give you the value, then we'll come back. This is 42.8. This is 52.6. This is 42.8. Then it is 18.6, sorry, 18.7. Here it is 25. Here it is 18.7. Here it is 7.1. This is 9.8. And this one is 7.1. So you see that ultimately they are very converging, or finally you are getting these values here. Obviously, this is a very crude method for hand calculations. But nowadays, you can always form them in these equations. You can form them into algebraic linear equations, and from that, with certain boundary conditions there, and then you can solve them easily there. So basically, you can put it like that. But basic crux of this thing is that the finite difference technique and this identifying that these typical characteristics of it. So if it is a three-dimensional what change do you expect? If it is a three-dimension one, what change do you expect?
It become by 6, no? Oh.
Exactly, it will become, instead of 4, it will become 6 there. So in this way we can do it, but there are certain there, softwares are available there, but here it is very there. I mean, very soft there. But definitely what you can see, the accuracy depends upon how closely you are making the grids. If they are making the grids, they are very close and like this, very small size, it will be more accurate to it. And definitely, if we want to have, there is always a balance you will have to make it. If you want to have more accurate results, you need to have a number of grids to be large. The dimension will be large. That is another thing. But that is the thing there. So comparatively, if you look at it, finite difference method, though it is very simple, comes from the very mathematical point or like this there, it is a little bit dimension and all the things are more cumbersome, like this there. And another thing I have not mentioned right now, tomorrow I will be explaining, what is that I have seen that all the dimensions are boundary are given. That means we are all considering a Dirichlet condition here. So suppose in this case, what we have is that all the voltages are there. So suppose I had it 0 volt, it is say 100 volt. And here, this is an insulator. That means it does not have any current or like this there. There is an insulator there. So naturally, these three are the Dirichlet condition, and this is the basically Neumann condition. That is the derivative as is defined. That is the thing del V del N equal to 0. So tomorrow, first I will show that how do you approximate this one while calculating the, implementing the Neumann conditions and do the things there. And so that I will see it. And after that, you will see that ultimately FDM is not that popular. An alternative is that is an FEM method, the finite element method, which we'll also be introducing in the next class. And mind it, 25th is the no class, and possibly you must have given the submitted your abstract. I don't know how many of you have submitted abstract. Karuna, what is the status?
Sir, 47 people have actually
I
turned
think
it
you
in.
have not been able to hear.
Hello, 47 people have actually submitted.
So those who have not, please submit it. It is just a warm-up practice, and I think from next month onwards, we'll start our seminars. Some of the problems we will be giving you on this there, and some of the topics we will be giving. Some of them you may give here there. We will distribute that thing afterwards. But but first try to do that one, and we will give you some more assignments. Actually, one assignment I have given it already. Some more assignments in this one next week, so that on the practicing you for this one, your model on that type of modeling there. Okay. Thank you. Let me stop here. Any other question? Quick question, one or two. You can take it. Okay. Any question? Thank you.
Sir,
Yes, please tell me.
sir, here we are drawing this template. So these are the four, miss, at
You
four
please be a
edges.
little bit louder.
Sir, in this template, at the four edges, we are giving some voltages. So what is there inside? Means, what is actually this template?
Template is nothing but we have, this is the two-dimensional. What is the, why two-dimensional? I have simplified. This is the place. Three sides have zero potential. This is the this is the bridge I have made. You can make a minor mesh or like this there. And basically, we see that this one, according to finite difference there, using those things which are following the Laplace equation, and if all four adjacent points of the grids are known, the potential, you can find out the potential of this one by this thing. Yes? You add all of them and 1/4 of it. That's what.
So, what are those grids made up of? Means, are they in real or just we are imagining them, considering them for calculation?
Do you have any idea in numerical solution? How do you solve this numerical solution? Solve like a differential equation numerically. Don't say I do it MATLAB. You must know this one. What we do is that the first whole length or like this, a one-dimensional. I make it a very small